Chapter 16. Dozens of smaller gates were superimposed on the large gate ahead. Despite being uniquely shaped, the gate was thoroughly designed. At the first glance, one might not understand it, but when looking at the gate's mechanism, one can see the woven design. Huh? Damn it! A large boy who was pushing against the gate cursed. The gate in front of the boy was around 7 feet wide. It was the smallest of the huge gates, but despite his large figure, he was unable to open the gate. Hey! Now that you're done, give up! There are people behind you! Behind the boy were several others waiting to try. They were all waiting to take the Heavenly Martial Arts Academy's entrance test. Mo Il-hwa, who went and stood on the carriage's footrest to get a better view, clicked her tongue. This is the first gate of the entrance test? Hae-ryang, who was near her, answered. Yes, with so many people gathered, conducting the test in an orderly fashion wouldn't be possible. And the gates just need to be pushed open. That's right. The only problem is that it isn't easy to open them. Are they heavy? One could tell by just looking at them that their weight was unusual. In addition, the gates were so closely attached that it didn't seem like they would open with just force. It was said that they were specially made so that they wouldn't open unless a certain amount of internal energy was applied. Even the smallest door weighs 400 pounds and is fully equipped so that no third-rate warrior can open it. Jin-hyuk frowned at Hae-ryang's words. You mean that no third-rate warrior can get in? The ones called third-rate warriors were also people who mastered martial arts. They were much stronger than ordinary people, but clearly, the Heavenly Martial Arts Academy had high standards. So this is where they get rid of warriors who have minimal training, so people with basic skills will not be taken in. After thinking that, he glanced at Mumu. From listening to all that was said, it looked like first-rate warriors could get in and test their strength. It seemed like the gate would open in response to the internal energy of a first-rate warrior. He knew that Mumu had a lot of strength, but would the gate open with just strength? Curious, he asked Hae-ryang, will that gate open with just pure strength and not internal energy? To that question, Hae-ryang smiled timidly and responded, Strength? Anyone who could do that would have passed the gate already. Right. If Hae-ryang's words were true, then Mumu wouldn't be able to get in. Jin-hyuk, who felt better, licked his lips and looked at Mumu, who was looking at the gate. I hope we end up on different paths. Mumu was strong, but he wasn't sure if Mumu could pass the test. That was when Hae-ryang came to his side and whispered something into his ear. This is important information. I heard that the gate was designed by the head of the Jegal clan, and it was made so that no one could pass without applying the set amount of energy. It was just like the lower district clan to have such information. This wasn't information that most Murim clans had. With that, Hae-ryang drew a circle with his index finger and said, Now that information is actually worth 100 silver. This is my present to build a friendship with Mr. Jin-hyuk. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. However, nothing will be free from now on. You need to pay a reasonable price. Price. Jin-hyuk looked at Hae-ryang and went silent. The information he provided was for his friendship, but that was lame. 100 silver. Expensive. Because of his brother's hard work, his family's situation had improved, but he couldn't use money carelessly. Mo Il-hwa jumped off the carriage and asked, What do you mean by 100 silver? Hae-ryang whispered the same thing into her ear, and she said something like, Ho ho ho. It isn't that expensive. I will need more information in the future. Jin-hyuk clicked his tongue. Apparently for her, a noble, 100 silver wasn't a huge deal. Oh my, thank you. Please ask whenever. After saying that, Hae-ryang smiled and bowed his head, and as if the woman was his main customer, his eyes shone. Around 2 hours had passed since Mumu and the others arrived near the gates. During those 2 hours, around 10,000 people had challenged the gate. Although there was no need for an instructor, 3 people were standing on the upper wall and observed everything that was happening. One of them was Hakyo, who was a middle-aged man with a long beard. In Murim, he was called Strong Simple Fist, and he was serving as a teacher for the second years. And this year, he was appointed as the supervisor for new recruits. After drinking something, Hakyo looked somewhere and said, Namgyung, are you taking it down? Yes, I'm taking it down very well. There was a 19-year-old stout-looking young man with thick eyebrows writing stuff down. He was Yon Namgyung, a second year at the academy. He was called by Hakyo to help him. One is having fun drinking and the other is working. The kid was complaining inside. He was only staying silent because of his grades, but he was still dissatisfied. Whether he liked it or not, Hakyo was drinking alcohol and watching the test takers. There aren't many good ones this year. Out of 10,000, only 30 open up the first gate. In order to open the gate, one had to be a first-rate warrior. It was known that one had to be talented to reach that level at the age of 17 or 18. But in the academy, they wanted even more talented kids to enter. Yon Namgyung, who kept writing, said, Still, 3 people managed to open 3 gates, right? As he said, 3 people managed to completely open 3 of the gates. Outstanding talents from clans such as the Namgung clan and the Mudang clan appeared. Opening 3 gates meant that they had reached a master level. Those brats were expected to do so anyways, since they're from the 5 great clans, said Hakyo in a cold voice. As he said, the 5 great clans had a reputation to uphold, and even they must have sent the strongest in their clans to the academy. Because of that, it wasn't strange that they sent people of the master level to the academy. Most of the participants came to the academy to raise the reputation of their clans. But what Hakyo wanted was an original one, not a member of some prestigious clan. Someone like Yu Jin-sung would be nice. Isn't Yu Jin-sung a special case? It isn't easy to find someone like him. You are right. With those words, Hakyo took a sip. Even then, he likes Yu Jin-sung. Among the people that he taught, there were few who were hard-working despite their talent. That type of person was truly hard to find. By the way, teacher, I think I heard that Yu Jin-sung's brother is taking the test this time. Right, it must be him. Hakyo pointed to someone in the distance. He recognized Yu Jin-hyuk at a glance as he approached the gate. He could recognize him right away because the faces looked similar. Does he have the same talent as Yu Jin-sung? We'll find out once we watch him. We'll know if he's a snake or a cat. Hakyo didn't really have high expectations for the younger brother as he knew people like Yu Jin-sung were rare. More than that, I'm looking forward to seeing the descendants of those people this year. Who are you talking about? You don't know? The daughter of the southern sword of the emperor and the 3rd disciple of the eastern riverblade master. I'm more interested in fist users. Of course, but I'm interested in looking at flowers. Yon Namgyung answered. He was more curious about the appearance of the southern sword of the emperor's heir. On the other hand, Hakyo wasn't even the least bit interested in the young girl's appearance. Rather, he was more interested in those who would succeed the 4 great warriors. The fist of the northern heaven's grandson and the 3rd disciple of the poison air of the west were admitted last year, so this year the descendants of all 4 will be here. This will be fun. The competition last year was brutal, so he couldn't imagine what it would be like this year. And since the descendants of the 4 great warriors were monsters, he wondered what the daughter and the disciple would show him today. However, it would be difficult to know who they were unless they revealed themselves. But then it happened. At that moment, a cry was heard near the gate. Hong Hae-ryang, 17 years old. For the sake of my family and my father, the southern sword of the emperor, Hong Hwa-ryun, who taught me, I will take the test. Huh? Yon Namgyung was startled by those words and looked down the wall. The entrance was completely engulfed in the noise of people talking. His successor. Damn it. Let me see her face. People pushed each other to get a good look at the person. Unlike before, an extremely famous warrior had appeared. But soon, sighs escaped from the people's mouths. Her face wasn't visible. She had a bamboo hat covering her face, so not many could see her. Yon Namgyung sighed in disappointment, and Hakyo yelled at him. Stop staring at her and take down the notes already. All right, understood. Yon Namgyung grumbled and sat down while Hakyo looked at her with an interested face. He couldn't see Hong Hae-ryang's face, but the large sword on her waist caught his attention. It had to be the famous giant fire sword which had mysterious patterns on it. Did he pass it down to the one and only person who can inherit it? He heard that the southern sword of the emperor had no other kids, but this was surely interesting. For a slender woman to have such a big sword on her waist. How strong is she? She was the descendant of one of the great warriors. Everyone had high expectations for her. He thought that she would at least open 3 gates. At that moment, Hong Hae-ryang stood in front of the gates, and she stretched her palms out towards the gate. Everyone held their breath as they looked at it. Keek! Soon, the gates moved. Oh, she's able to move about 3 gates. Then she's as strong as... Not as strong as I thought. They thought that at first, but the thing that followed shocked everyone. No one has opened more than 3 gates until now, but all of a sudden, 5 started moving. Huh! An exclamation escaped from Hakyo's mouth. Only those of the master level were able to open 3 gates, and if she could open 5, then the woman had to be a supermaster. Did she already reach that level? If that was the case, it could be said that she was at the level of the academy's instructors. Everyone was shocked, but the moving gates stopped. She removed her palms and then her breathing turned ragged. Unfortunately, that was it. It didn't seem like she reached the beginning of the Supermaster level yet. She just seemed to have the same level of internal energy as a Supermaster. Thud. Perhaps that prediction was right. The woman gave up on opening 5 gates and gently opened what she could. Of course, that alone caused cheers. Whoa! Amazing! Indeed, she is his daughter. She did well. She could have opened 5 gates. She isn't a descendant of one of the strongest for nothing. Everyone couldn't help but marvel at it. Hakyo admitted that this year there didn't seem to be anyone who could outperform this girl. If there was someone, it would be the 3rd disciple of the poison air of the West. Alcohol tastes so good now. Despite not seeing any unexpected ones right now, he could tell that this year was going to be amazing. Meanwhile, Hong Hae-ryang opened the gate. She was able to enter and she seemed like she enjoyed their cheers. Shout more! This is exciting! Below her bamboo hat, her face had turned red with excitement. Chapter 17. Why are you leaving the gate open and standing still? Aren't you doing it for cheers? Attention seeker, attention seeker. Mo Il-hwa looked at Hong Hae-ryang, who opened the door with tons of displeasure. At her tone of voice, Jin-hyuk bit his tongue. Still, she was the daughter of a noble who was a high-ranking official, and her tone of voice was no different from when a person would look down on others. She said stuff like, "Yeah, aren't I a lot cuter than her?" It was difficult for him to understand, since he was the young son of a scholar. Isn't she just jealous? It was difficult for him to understand women's feelings. While everything was going on, Mumu yawned with a tired expression. I don't understand why the door is opening and closing, or why people are cheering. That's how high the standards are, young Master Mumu. High? Because the more gates someone opens, the higher their internal energy level. Hae-ryang of the lower class clan answered. Both Mo Il-hwa and Jin-hyuk were supposed to be stepping stones for him. The clan member of the lower district clan looked at the 3 people in front of him. He was always advised that it was important to win the hearts of those around him and attract high-end customers. He's someone who will fail at the first gate. So an investment in Mumu wasn't worth it. Meanwhile, Hong Hae-ryang entered through the gate and the test continued. As always, most people couldn't open any of the gates, and if they could, they barely opened the first gate. Now Mumu and the others' turns weren't that far away, but while they were waiting, there was a boy standing alone with a serious expression on his face and looking at the gates. Maybe he was just nervous. He was wearing a red robe with a black ribbon tied around his forehead. Indeed, as expected of the southern sword of the emperor's descendant. The boy was thinking back on the girl who passed through the gates earlier. He expected her to be strong, but not that strong. At the age of just 17, and with a woman's body, she had amazing strength. He came in with determination, but it didn't seem like the test was going to be easy. I need to teach them the pain of losing blood. With such a strong mind, he mastered martial arts. He endured hellish training in the White Valley for this day. Everyone gathered near the gate was still looking peaceful, but his hopes of showing them despair wasn't far away. I, Haryun, who inherited the will and blood, will burn the Heavenly Martial Arts Academy, which is full of detestable, vicious people.
Yeah, the place ahead of you is empty. Aren't you going ahead?
A shrieking voice came from behind him. Haryun turned and looked back. It was Mo Il-hwa, who was talking to him with an annoyed face. What is with this bitch? Her face was pretty, so it was hard to miss her among the crowd, but he didn't like her attitude.
What? Now that I told you to move forward, are you trying to act hard?
Hard? What kind of woman speaks so vulgarly? Haryun, who stared at her, calmed down and then took a step forward. Revealing himself wouldn't be the right choice, and the burden he was carrying was huge.
Get going, hardhead.
This bitch. In an instant, Haryun turned back and almost threw a dagger at her neck. This woman was deliberately provoking him. It was then. Young-chun, 18 years old. I'm a disciple of the Eastern Riverblade Master, and I'm about to take the test. Eastern Riverblade Clan. Haryun's eyes, which were angry, turned to the boy in front of the gate with a large wooden box and a blue robe. He was in front of the gate and facing it, so his face couldn't be seen.
Eastern Riverblade Master? Whoa! Are everyone's disciple taking the test this time?
This is absurd.
The Southern Sword of the Emperor and the Eastern Riverblade Master too.
Everyone's attention turned to Young-chun, the third disciple of the Eastern Riverblade Master, one of the 4 great warriors. At the people's attention, Young-chun's innocent face distorted into that of a demon. But then, he soon calmed himself. Hold back. Calm down. He was someone who desperately hated being cheered for by people who knew nothing of him. Even his teacher, who would praise him, began to cut back when he noticed how much Young-chun didn't like it. Young-chun approached the gate. Hakyo, the instructor, looked down and patted his beard. He seems to have a variety of facial expressions. This one, who comes under the training of a dignified warrior.
What are you saying?
Yeon Nam-kyung was curious. Hearing that, Hakyo just shook his head and said, What will you do by knowing? Just do your work.
This is supposed to be your work.
It was so mean. He was having a student do the task he was supposed to do. Yeon Nam-kyung's stomach was raging, but he calmed down. And then came the sound of the gates rattling. Young-chun, the third disciple, was using his skills in earnest. Kick! In an instant, 3 gates moved, and before long, 4 gates flinched. Even though Young-chun had already tried his best, seeing a small number of gates move made him furious. If I seem weaker than that man's daughter, the others will keep making fun of me. Push! As he thought that, his face distorted and the gates swung open with a bang. As soon as the gates opened, the others cheered.
Whoa! 4 gates opened! Indeed, he's the disciple of a great warrior.
I guess he's their disciple for something. I can't even dream of doing that.
Damn it, he didn't have to go to that level.
Are you really saying that now? It was a mess. As a result, the gates opened. Hakyo, who looked down at him, took a sip. It's funny that a disciple of the Eastern Riverblade Master came in. It didn't look like the man had a temper, but seeing his emotions all out of control, it felt like he was a walking bomb. Regardless of that, 2 strong people had already passed the first test. Would there be another on par with them? Who knows? Actually, there didn't seem to be such people. It was almost impossible for people that age to open the 4th gate, and only the descendants and disciples of strong warriors showed great performances. Then, to add that, Mo Yong-wol of the Mo-yong clan and Bae Yusok of the Baeyang Mountain clan opened 3 gates and made a lot of noise. But since then, not a single person managed to open 2 gates. After a long time, Mumu, Mo Il-hwa, and Jin-hyuk's turn were near.
Wow, I waited for 3 hours.
Mo Il-hwa shook her head. If she knew that this would happen, she would have left earlier. Meanwhile, Haryun, who was standing in front of her, shouted as he walked towards the gate. Haryeon, 17 years old. I was taught by the people in White Valley, and I'm about to take the test. At those words, the test takers went silent. White Valley? The White Valley is one of the 3 places that Mumu doesn't touch. Those places were uninhabited, but the boy called Haryeon said he belonged to one of them. So there were people hiding in there. The onlookers were shocked. It's known to be poisonous since it's full of poisonous insects, and it wasn't accessible to normal people. However, anyone who met the qualifications could go to the Heavenly Martial Arts Academy. Just because he came from the White Valley wasn't enough of a reason to reject him. We'll see what kind of a guy he is. While everyone's attention focused on him, Haryeon approached the gate. Normally, people would ignore the clanless warriors, but since he mentioned the White Valley, they were interested in the man, and Haryeon didn't like it. But he knew that the more attention he got, the more he would be able to achieve his goal. He cleared his breath and stood in front of the gate, and he slowly raised his energy from his dantian. The veins around his neck began to bulge like spider webs, and energy gushed out.
Ki.
Haryeon moved his energy towards the gate. The gate squeaked and rattled, and gates 1, 2, and 3 moved. The onlookers were shocked. Unlike the past participants who came from strong families and clans, this was the first time a clanless warrior performed so well. And that wasn't the end. I'll show you the true power of Majestic Dragon. Kung. His heart started beating faster and faster. To showcase the Majestic Dragon, he used a different technique that would temporarily increase his internal energy. The moment the veins bulging on his neck reached all the way up to his chin, a loud bang was heard. Bang! The gates were opened wide, and crazy screams erupted from all over.
Whoa!
This was completely different from the ones who performed similarly. The onlookers cheered from the bottom of their hearts. It was because a non-famous warrior managed to do something great, and they were even more supportive because it gave hope to the other warriors. Hakyo, who was looking down, clicked his tongue. He did feel something unusual, but he never thought that the man would open the gates just like the disciples of the 4 great warriors. It was completely unexpected.
Sir, you said that this time we need to have strong ones.
Even Yun Namgyong was trembling. He agreed with what his teacher said, and when he saw a warrior without a strong name behind him, he even felt a little glad. This is different. Hakyo felt like he had to watch the man a little more. Meanwhile, Mo Il-hwa, who watched him, was shocked.
What is with him? Why does he have so much energy? I know. You're from the Lower District clan, right? Spill it.
That information.
Shit.
Haryang couldn't help but feel embarrassed. It was his first time seeing the man too. Even if he belonged to the Lower District clan, he couldn't know everything. But if there was a person as strong as Haryeon, then he had to be widely known.
But it's my first time seeing and hearing about him.
It was absurd that he came from the White Valley because it was a forbidden place. But the man spoke honestly.
I'm sorry, I don't know. This is my first time hearing of someone living in the White Valley.
Jin-hyuk agreed with that. He heard about it from his brother. The White Valley, located in the southwest of the Yunnan province, is known to be a poisonous place. And this man was claiming to be from there. Was it Haryeon? He walked through the 3rd gate, and with that, the burning passion of the warriors began to die down. Jin-hyuk didn't think that his year would be full of monsters. Maybe I won't be as strong as my brother. That was his concern. While he was thinking, voices of protest were heard from behind. That was when Mo Il-hwa spoke to him.
Yeah, you go first.
Huh?
I can't do it right now.
Why? Feeling unwell?
No, it'll be embarrassing to open the gate right after that person.
That's your reason?
Yes.
Mo Il-hwa knew how strong she was. She could barely open the 1st gate. Of course, that alone was a passing grade, but she was too conscious of going after a strong person.
I just hate it.
She didn't want to be compared, which was why she told Jin-hyuk to do it. But Mumu intervened. Can I go first? You'll go? It's boring to stand here. Jin-hyuk's eyes shone at Mumu's words. He was earnestly praying for Mumu to fail and return home, and he knew for sure that Mumu would fail. Fine, then go first. At Jin-hyuk's sudden words, Mumu stepped ahead and stretched his body. Seeing that, Jin-hyuk spoke to Mo-il-hwa in a worried tone. Will he be fine? He never learned martial arts. She was shocked to hear that. It was shocking because Mumu broke her brother's wrist before. According to Jin-hyuk, Mumu was all muscle strength. We will know once he tries. Jin-hyuk answered with a smirk. It was because he wanted Mumu out. This is a test for internal energy. Hae-ryang said that it was something that could only be opened with internal energy. Then how could a person who didn't learn martial arts open it? He had doubts, and Mumu stood in front of the gate. What should I say? Ah! Mumu looked above the wall and then shouted like the people before him did. Mumu, 17, no clan, and I don't know martial arts. Huh? Hakyo looked down and frowned. He watched a lot of test takers, but this was a first for him. No martial arts. Then why come here? This was an academy to nurture martial artists. Thinking that, Hakyo then spoke for the first time. Was it Mumu? Yes. You really haven't learned anything. Mumu thought for a while. He wasn't trained in martial arts, but he did train his muscles by referring to the books given to him. What should I say? Mumu, who thought, shouted, Muscle training! What? It was absurd. Hakyo doubted his ears for a second. He trained his muscles. Hearing the way the man talked, it seemed like he was a villager who didn't even know about martial arts. Pah! Muscle training? What the hell? Where is he from? Laughter erupted from all around. Jin-hyuk asked Mumu to take the test first, and the laughter made him think that Mumu would give up. Right, this isn't a place for you. It would be nothing but trying to shame martial artists if an ordinary person comes and tries to claim their place with physical strength. While Jin-hyuk was thinking, Hakyo sighed and said, Yeah, this isn't a place for you to joke around. There are so many other candidates waiting. Don't you feel bad for them? I'm here to take the test. Why should I feel bad? Huh, that bastard. He didn't seem to have a problem talking back to an adult. Raising his voice, Hakyo spoke. Enough! Walk away. Otherwise I'll come down and kick. At that moment, Mumu went close to the gate and put his hands on it. Hakyo's face trembled at that. He had seen all kinds of people, but it was his first time meeting someone like Mumu. He doesn't even listen. If so, nothing can be done. He has to teach the kid a lesson. You idiot. You can't even open the gate. So why? Ki. Hakyo was shocked at the sound of the gates opening. Mumu leaned and pushed into the gates, and they wobbled. How? The gates didn't open, but then the gates kept trembling. The kid seemed to have more power than an average person. It's no use. The gate was designed by the head of the Jegal clan. It was specifically made to only open when a certain amount of internal energy was put into it. It could never be opened by force. Jin-hyuk laughed inside. He was a bit concerned when Mumu leaned into it, but then seeing that the gates didn't move, his worries calmed down. Phew! Mumu exhaled. He trained extremely hard so far, but this was his first time running into a real challenge. His mouth twitched, wanting to laugh. I'll really get stronger if I go here. He didn't have any interest in Jin-hyuk or his martial arts, but he was surprised when the gates wouldn't open. The world of training is wide. If so, it was worth entering this academy to learn. Mumu rolled up his sleeves, and the bands around his wrists were turned to 5. This should be enough, right? Seeing that, Hakyo snorted. Yeah, you know how hard it is now? So stop and come out. Clank, rumble. It was then. The entire gate began to shake violently. Hakyo's eyes fluttered at the strange phenomenon. He wasn't the only one shocked. Those who were making fun of Mumu went silent. Crack. Mumu's hands dug into the gate. It was a sight so absurd that anyone would end up thinking that the gate was made out of some weak metal. Who is he? Hakyo's eyes went wide. What kind of bizarre sight was he seeing? But the shock didn't end there. Rumble. The gates, which shouldn't open unless internal energy was used, were moving. The things connecting the gates moved, and when Mumu grabbed the gate and shook it, the entire wall began to shake.
Huh? Teacher, the walls are shaking.
Needless to say, it was going to break. It was unbelievable. Crack. The gates, which couldn't withstand the power of Mumu, were torn to the third gate. Everyone was at a loss for words. The gate had never been damaged, but it was now torn. Hakyo, who lost the strength in his legs, looked down and muttered, "Is this a dream or not?" Chapter 18. Mumu gulped as he held the torn gates. I made a mistake. He tried to open the gate, but he unintentionally ripped it open. It looked like a newly purchased gate that had to be fixed. Is this expensive? He was even more concerned when everyone around him had gone silent. Mumu, who noticed that, held the gates, wondering what to do. Unlike Mumu, who was worrying about other things, Mo Il-hwa, Haeryang, and Jin-hyuk were shocked. It was natural, since they assumed that Mumu would fail the test. This was supposed to be a gate that could only open with internal energy, so no matter how strong he was, they thought that Mumu would fail. But the result was shocking. Mo Il-hwa, who was the first to regain her senses, pointed to Mumu and said,
He just ripped the gates out. Did you see it?
Who couldn't see it? Insane. Jin-hyuk was genuinely shocked. Even though he had superhuman strength, wasn't this too much? The gate was commissioned by two strong people who were considered two of the strongest warriors in Murim, but it was torn using pure strength. Mumu. What the hell? He couldn't comprehend it. Just what did his father pick up in exile?
Young Master Jin-hyuk, didn't you say that your brother didn't learn martial arts?
The lower district clan's Haeryang stammered as he asked that. He was too confused by the unexpected results. Similarly, everyone else who saw it was in the same trance. Everyone at the school's entrance had fallen into confusion.
What? Did he break the gate? But he said he didn't learn martial arts. No. Is that possible even if he learned martial arts? Damn it. What is this?
The descendants of the four great warriors couldn't even do that.
I know.
And then someone shouted,
Huh? What is he doing?
Everyone looked at Mumu. Mumu, who was holding the 16 feet wide gates, 3 gates to be exact, was leaning back.
Guys, I'm sorry, but can you move? I need to put them down.
People were bewildered by Mumu's words.
Don't come here. There's no room. Yeah, we said there are too many people. Whoa, move!
Most of the test takers were between 5 to 6 feet tall, and the torn gates were nearly 3 times their height and moved like a fan, so they immediately retreated in terror. It looked like a wave crashing down. Boom, boom. Each time the torn gates moved, people moved back and forth, and the entire place was a mess.
He's crazy. Supervisor, what the hell is he?
Yoon Nam-kyung, who was watching from above, asked. Seeing that, Hakyu shouted, I don't know. How could I? He himself was flustered. He thought that he was some villager playing around, but who would have thought that he could tear the gates down? This was the first time such a thing happened in the academy.
Supervisor, what could this be?
Hakyo frowned at the words of Yoon Nam-kyung. It was the first time such a thing happened, so he wasn't sure what to think. The kid said that he didn't learn martial arts, but he ripped the gates open. Did he lie? Even if he learned, this was a problem. The descendants of the 4 great warriors opened the gates, but this kid ripped the gates open. How did he do that? He wasn't sure. The simple force of pushing and pulling was weaker than an attack. striking and attacking meant to add force. But in a way, this guy might surpass me. It was difficult to admit. Scratch that. It was impossible to admit. No. At his age, there was a limit to what Mumu could do. And it's impossible to surpass a limit unless it's under a special case. Nothing can be done. Supervisor Hakyo, who had been thinking, made a decision. There was no other way than to check for himself. Goo! He heard a slight vibration and noise from below. When he looked down, Mumu had put down the gates he was carrying, and he was fiddling with something on his wrist. What is he doing? Hakyo shook his head and jumped down from the wall. Pop! He jumped from a high place, but landed lightly, and with a voice carried by energy, he spoke like a lion. Here, 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 here. His voice spread around like thunder. The people at the entrance, who were in a state of confusion because of Mumu, went silent. Everyone became nervous since the supervisor, who had been watching from above, had decided to appear in front of them. Mumu became nervous. Father told me to not get into trouble. This was similar to kicking someone's front door down. He wondered what he would have to do to fix the gate. His father always told him to respond calmly at times like these. Mumu folded his hands behind his back and shouted, "I apologize!" What? Supervisor Hakyo frowned. He couldn't figure out why the kid was apologizing. Mumu said, "I was really trying to open the gate, but it just broke open. I never meant to destroy it." It just broke open? He was confused. Was the kid telling him that the gate just came out, and that he wasn't trying to break it, but it just happened? In a solemn voice, Hakyo spoke. "But it happened, so what now?" Huh? Are you hiding something? What do you mean? Are you saying that you don't know? Did you think that the gate could be broken by just force? At that, Mumu looked at Hakyo. Is he asking me because he doesn't know? It was difficult for Mumu to understand what the man was asking. All he wanted to do was make amends. He wasn't sure if the bill would be sent to Yuyeopgyung, who just returned from exile, or if Mumu would be asked to return home. Mumu, who was troubled, carefully opened his mouth. Isn't that because the gate is old, and the fittings are too? Hakyo's nose flared. Even if it was old and broken, the gate couldn't be pulled out by force. And he didn't like the kid's response a moment back. But now, the kid was just talking nonsense. This one is speaking nonsense. No. Rather than saying it out loud, he decided to check. Hakyo approached Mumu and said, "I will check directly." What? Give me your hand. Mumu was confused. He couldn't understand why he was asked to show his hand, but since he wanted to make amends, he stretched out his hands. Look at this one. Hakyo looked at Mumu. He couldn't see it from above, but the kid's arm and wrist muscles were amazing. He couldn't help but stay fixated on the muscles. How much did he train to become like this? Hakyo was a warrior of pugilism and known as the strong simple fist. Warriors of pugilism focused on maintaining a balance of internal and external energy. But even he doesn't have muscles like that. Gulp. Hakyo gulped and drooled unknowingly at the muscles. He wondered how strong the kid would be if he practiced pugilism. No. He shook his head. In an instant, he fell in love with the well-developed muscles and almost got greedy for a disciple. But right now, he's the supervisor. Hakyo grabbed Mumu's wrist. This kid. When he held the wrist, he could feel the shape of the muscles clearer. Hakyo felt his heart pounding out of admiration for the muscles. However, he calmed himself down. He had to check if the kid mastered martial arts. What? Really? The kid really didn't learn martial arts. There was no dantian and no traces of energy. But the only odd part was the fact that his blood vessels were open, which typically happens when one learns martial arts. But nonetheless, it was proven that he did that with pure power. No way. It was hard to believe. He was shocked and impressed. And then he heard Mumu ask, How long are you going to keep holding on to me? Ah. Hakyo let go of his hand and stared at Mumu's face. He really tore the gates off with just pure strength? If the kid used martial arts, Hakyo would have thought that an unimaginable genius had arrived. But he didn't understand this. It made him wonder if the gate was really old and broken. Hakyo, who was confused, opened his mouth. Was it Mumu? Yes. The gate is broken, so there's no way to check again. I will test your strength myself, so be patient. What? Be patient and don't move. Hakyo's hand flew like a lightning bolt and grabbed Mumu's wrist again. Huh? Mumu was surprised by his quick hand movements. Of all the people he met, this man seemed the fastest. Hakyo slightly twisted the wrist he grabbed and pulled while trying to knock Mumu down. But Mumu gave strength to his legs so he wouldn't be lifted and thrown. Oh, look at him. Hakyo's eyes shone at Mumu not moving. The kid was really using pure strength. If a first-rate warrior or even a beginner master-level warrior was in front of Hakyo, they wouldn't be able to stand straight. Then, Hakyo raised his power. It was the 4th level. Huh? Mumu gave more strength to his hands and legs as Hakyo's strength grew. He can withstand this too. Hakyo bit his tongue. Mumu should be at the beginning of Super Master level, but still, holding back pure strength was amazing. And because of that, Hakyo grew more interested and he raised his power to the 6th level. This will be difficult unless he's a full-fledged Super Master. Can he stop this by force? The floor around Mumu's feet cracked. The students who watched it held their breaths. The veins on Mumu's wrist were swelling. This mister is strong. He was as strong as Jinhyuk's second teacher. And didn't he turn the bands on his wrists to 6 to deal with that man's annoying behavior? However, if the man used more strength, Mumu wasn't in a situation where he could turn the bands like he did back then. It was then. Nice. He's making me go up to the 7th level. If it was level 7, then it was the Super Master level. Hakyo raised his power. At that moment, Mumu couldn't stand it and fell. Bang! The floor around Mumu dug in. Mumu's eyes twinkled while he was on the floor. This man seemed like he could withstand Mumu even with the dials turned down to 6. Should I try again? The moment he thought that, Hakyo held out his hand. You're amazing. I'm impressed. I'm embarrassed. Huh? I was taught that there should be a balance between internal and external energy, but I always practice internal energy more. But seeing you, I understand the importance of external energy. He didn't know what the man was talking about. Hakyo continued to talk to Mumu, who was puzzled. You are qualified to pass the first entrance test of the Heavenly Martial Arts Academy. Come in. In? Yes, you have been permitted by the strong Simple Fist, Hakyo, the supervisor of the first test. Hakyo said while pounding his chest. Then, the gate doesn't need to be reimbursed? Reimbursed? Hakyo burst out into laughter at Mumu's question. Contrary to how it seemed, there was a naive side to the kid. Were you worried about this all this time? It looked expensive. It was expensive. We don't need reimbursement though. And what can we do when you pass the exam? Don't worry about it and go on in. Is it really fine? Mumu double-checked. Hakyo nodded, saying that it was fine, and then asked, Is the first Mu in Mumu your last name? No, Mumu's my full name. So you don't have a last name? My father's last name is Yu, so I guess it's Yu. Yu. May I know Mr. Yu's name? Among those with Yu as their family name, few were Murin warriors, and he was curious because of the muscles that were on the kid's body. Mumu replied, My father's name? Yuyopgyong. Yuyopgyong. Where did he hear that? Hakyo, who thought for a moment, remembered. The father of Yu Jin-sung, who graduated from the Heavenly Martial Arts Academy, was Yuyopgyong, the man whose name had been cleared. What kind of relationship do you have with the Imperial Inspection Censor, Yu Jin-sung? He's my brother. Huh. At Mumu's answer, Hakyo patted his beard and sighed. I see. I must be looking in the wrong place. This is the one. He thought there would be no one else like Yu Jin-sung, but his words were wrong. Truly amazing. He heard that Mumu wasn't from a Murin family, but this type of talented person was unexpected. Hakyo looked at Mumu and said, "Indeed, the rumors were true. I'm looking forward to the future."